Good evening, everyone. It's 5:30 and we'll begin the meeting of the Gates Mills Council in 1 minute. Mr. Spear is quickly making progress back to his chair, aided by
Walk faster.
prior surgeries. Way to go. Okay, good evening. It's February 17th. We're here at 5:30 to conduct the business of the Village of Gates Mills at the council meeting. The agendas were presented to council along with many of the materials in advance and posted on the website as well before the meeting. May I have a roll call, please, clerk?
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Anesco,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Young.
Thank you. Minutes of the regular council meeting of January 20th were also presented. Were there any comments, Beth, that you received, or Janet?
No, not that I received.
Are there any other comments or changes to the minutes suggested?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Craig.
Second.
Thank you, Scott. Any further discussion? Roll call, please, Beth.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Anesco,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Item number 3, pay ordinance number 1306 in the amount of $679,010.52. The detail was provided to you in your package. Are there any questions on elements in the pay ordinance? Hearing none. Thank you, Scott.
Second.
Thank you, Karen. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Anesco,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner, Young.
Yes.
Thank you. Item number 4, we are proposing the council to confirm my appointment of Kendra Howley to fill the unexpired term of Emily Hamilton on the Planning and Zoning Commission. The term of that is normally 5 years. Ms. Hamilton resigned earlier last year, and Kendra has agreed to fill that position. Her experience as a private auditor, her prior experience as an auditor gives her good familiarity with laws and regulations and complying with those. That would fit quite well into the planning and zoning range of responsibilities. She also attended the prior meeting and has accepted my appointment. So with that, I would ask for council's motion and second.
I'd move approval.
Thank you, Scott.
Second.
Thank you, Craig. Any comment or discussion on that appointment? Roll call, please.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Anesco,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner, Young.
Yes.
Thank you. Also under item 4 is other committees. I have had some individuals raise their hand to be on a few committees. I haven't heard from everyone. I would suggest that we draw the line at February 28th. If there's a committee or two that you'd like to be on or have influence over, or suggest a colleague or someone from the village, if you could send those off to Janet or I before the end of the month, we'll finalize those and have a final list for the March meeting. Is that okay? Okay, thank you. Item number 5 is the Gates Mills Land Conservancy Report to Council. You will recall that under the agreement that the village has with the Gates Mills Land Conservancy on a semi-annual basis, the Conservancy presents to council an update on its activities. I had previously mentioned that I had asked Conservancy to prepare to do this in February rather than January because we had quite a few things going on in January, and Jamie and others have agreed to do that. I asked for the reports in advance, and that was provided to you as part of your package. So let me ask Jamie Carricker, the president of the Land Conservancy, to make any comments and then to answer any questions that council members may have. This, again, is primarily in respect to the year that's just ending as opposed to future-looking information. Jamie?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the council. Appreciate the invitation. I always enjoy the opportunity just to come before you, just to tell you a little bit about what we're working on in the community at large. Not everybody is able to come to our annual meeting or see our communication, so this is just a great opportunity, and we appreciate it. As the mayor said, sent around a report, but I did want to hit on a few things. We tackled a lot at the end of last year, the second half, and I think we achieved a lot, really proud of it, and wanted to kind of highlight some of those things. Just in terms of news, in terms of officer and director elections, we did reconfirm myself as president of the Land Conservancy, Nat Smith as vice president, Alex Burchek as our treasurer. So those are same roles we had last year. Our full membership also renewed directorship of Celeste McClung and Amy Fazio. Other important things that we tackled last year, this will be important to some folks who have asked us about this. We are working on adding conservation easements to all of our fee-owned properties. This is something that is important. We've always believed that, conserving our property forever is, of vital importance. Putting conservation easements on land that is owned by the Land Conservancy is complicated, and I won't get into all the legal, ins and outs of it, but it's a complicated process, and we're starting that process now. And we launched with 2 properties at the end of last year as a pilot to kind of get our sea legs, see how the process works, make sure it works smoothly. Our goal is to get all of our fee-owned properties on the conservation easements within 5 years. So we're working on that, and I know it's been an issue that folks have asked about, and I just want to make sure everyone was aware that's what we're working on. So far so good. We also launched a new website. This was a big thing for us. We've been working on it for a couple years. Gates Mills, www.gatesmillslandconservancy.org is our new website. So, we had a task force within our organization working on that. It took a while, but completely new, a lot more user-friendly, a lot more pictures, a lot more interactive maps and that sort of thing. So, that was important for us to get that done. Stewardship, I mentioned this last year, but we did complete all of our inspections of our fee-owned conservation easement properties and deed restricted properties. We do that every year. We literally go to every single one, take pictures, write down notes if we see anything of issue. We're looking for everything from trash being dumped on them to structures that should not be there, that sort of thing. And we're religious about that. We have to do that every year. We're also finishing up our management plans on our fee-owned properties, and this is part of our Land Trust Alliance accreditation. It's an important organization that we're a member of that guides all land or major land conservancies in America, like Western Reserve Land Conservancies and others around the country. No major changes seen there, but it's just documentation to make sure that we are fully detailed in terms of what we're doing with our land and how we're stewarding it. On the invasive removal front, we're working very hard on that, and we are proud members of the Tree Canopy Committee, led by its chairperson, Mitch Bass, who's also a director for our Land Conservancy. As we all know, we've been working on the Merkle property as one of the pilot properties to remove invasives and do stewardship. As part of that, we voted as a board to expand the tree canopy work to our Locanti property, which is across the street, directly across the street from Merkle as you head towards Mayfield Road, and we're paying for that through Land Conservancy funds. We are also looking this year at how do we expand that outside of the Tree Canopy Committee, with our own funding for other properties. So we have a lot of fires or irons in the fires. We kind of nailed that down, but we're continuing that work. We think it's important. And then the other thing I would mention on this front is a new project we've been working on that is, we're really excited about is, we're working to hopefully secure funding through the federal government through their Environmental Quality Incentives Program, also known as EQIP. This is a federal funded program where they provide landowners with funds to do stewardship, invasive removal, and then subsequently, adding, native plants, that sort of thing, restoring the habitat. We're doing this around our Merkle property. We're partnering with some private landowners around there on the submission. One of the unique things that we can offer as Land Conservancy as a private organization is we qualify for this funds as a private organization. We can go out and do that. And we view this as a pilot. We're going to find out this spring whether we get those funds, and hopefully we do. And if we do, we see this as an opportunity to kind of partner with other landowners around the village, kind of expand that around our properties, where it makes sense and it's good synergy. The other thing, just remind everyone, we were really excited to host 50 land conservation professionals from around the country and Canada here in Gates Mills last September. That was part of Land Trust Alliance's rally conference, which was in Cleveland last year. I think they're in Denver next year. But we had 50 folks coming through town. They were in a giant bus. Thank you to the chief and his team to kind of make sure that was all safe as they got on and off. We looked at the Merkle property. We were also over by the riverfront looking at some river work that was done there. But really great. It was partnership with Western Reserve Land Conservancy and also the Sugar River Watershed Partners. We were really excited to partner with them, especially Western Reserve Land Conservancy and Sugar River Watershed Partners, just to kind of show up. We're a small organization, nonprofit. We have one part-time employee, they're all full-time, and we were able to kind of stand with them, and stand and hold our own, which we were really excited, proud of. Community outreach, we're continuing our newsletter. I hope everyone subscribed to that. If you're not, you can go to our website. We have a form there. Also at our annual meeting, we hosted Zach Slagle, who's a fisheries biologist for the Sandusky Fisheries Research Station with the Ohio Division of Wildlife. He gave a really fascinating talk about migratory smallmouth bass from Lake Erie coming up into tributaries like the Chagrin River. He tracked them over several years to see where they spawn, where they're going. That was not done before. So it was really exciting presentation we had here. And those, just a reminder, we do the annual meeting every year, and those are free. And the last thing I'll hit on are fundraising and financials. At the end of 2025, we raised about $41,000, almost $42,000 from a little bit more than 150 donors, mostly in Gates Mills, but we have some others elsewhere. That was compared to a budget of 40, so we were able to overshoot our budget. We also earned a grant, a private grant for about $11,000, close to $12,000 that will be used for more invasive work throughout the village. So that was something that we were able to get a little bit of the previous year, and we were able to get a little bit more this year. So that's going to be kind of going to all these stewardship projects we're working on, adding them up to increase our impact. We also, early last year, I just wanted to remind everyone, we did get a really generous $100,000 donation from the family of Mrs. Marguerite Bonnie Humphrey. That was, not expected, and they're definitely appreciated. So that helped us with our budgeting this year. We did not, a little bit higher revenues this year compared to past years because of that donation. So don't have the numbers memorized. So revenues about $183,000 last year, expenses $42,000, and net about $140,000. That's operating income. And then levy receipts, we did receive $142,000, a little bit more, which is a correction from our documentation. Realized we had a little bit of a categorization error on our side, but we did get $142,000 in the village. We spent a little bit less than $11,000 primarily on maintenance of the properties, which includes things like tree pruning, fence repairs, mowing, that sort of thing. We also had some property tax expenses, which ideally will be reimbursed to us by the county, some kind of carryover where we bought property and it wasn't tax exempt yet. And in terms of total funds, we're at $902,000, a little bit more at the end of December, of course. We're a little bit more than that now, obviously. But we know probably $700,000 is what we'll stay above of, but so that is my report. Happy to take any questions.
I have a question. Do you think it might be a good idea to add to your website or new things that individuals could be doing on their own properties to remove invasives?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's a great piece of feedback. It's one of the things we've been kind of wrestling with is not trying to replicate expertise from other entities that might do it better than us, because there's 15 of us, and we can't do all of that. But at the same time, I think that providing links to areas where we can get that kind of information for sure. Also, looking at ways we can offer events, here or on our properties where folks can come and learn. And we've done that in the past few years, having events about invasives and sort of thing. But 100% agree. We definitely want to do that sort of thing and welcome that feedback.
I think it would be a good idea. Even to identify what the invasives are,
Sure.
so that people can start removing them to the best of their ability from their own pieces of.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah, totally aligned.
So Karen, one of the things on the equip, one of the reasons that the Conservancy is pursuing that, not only to get funds to use for the Conservancy, but best way to teach someone how to do it themselves is if you've gone through the process yourself. We're doing that right now in order to be a resource for people to say, hey, how do I apply for equip money? And say, well, here's how you do it. Step 4 and 5. To help them get it so that they can use that money too. Their
Yeah.
Jamie, I wondered if there was a estimated time frame for the conservation easements that you guys are doing with the first 2 properties to be complete?
So we filed the documentation, that is complete. And what we're waiting for is, we have to do that. To do this process, we had to kind of transfer ownership to a entity that we control. But the tax, blank on the word. This is more, I'm going to point to Scott, our expert.
So we
Tax-
have to transfer,
Yeah,
it.
tax
We
exempt.
can't
Tax
hold both the title to the property and the easement or they merge. And so we have to transfer it to an LLC. That Conservancy has 100% ownership, and it sounds crazy, but, and then once we do that, the property becomes taxable again, and we have to apply the tax exemption at the county all over again. And county, obviously has a lot of applications and transfers, and so it can take a while for that to happen. Ideally, I'd like to get it done before tax bills come due, because then the Conservancy would have to tax out, we have to apply for a refund. So you think on these 2 properties, 3 parcels, that we can get it done before the end of the year and do an offset. So we waited until just before the end of the year to file the deeds and file the conservation easement to give us the most time to get the process.
And then are you staggering the other 55 properties after that across that 5-year period, or?
Yeah, and it won't be all of them because some of the conservation easement ones, already have conservation easements on them, and we don't own those. We own the conservation easement, but yeah, the remaining 20-ish. So, and the reason why, in addition to all the stuff Scott mentioned, that we wanted to take our time was, we want to make sure we did it right, but also, if there was some sort of snafu, we didn't want to end up with a giant tax bill that, we weren't ready for. So, if something were to happen and we do have to pay taxes for a year until we get that squared away, we're totally fine.
Thank you.
And just for clarification, so it's not going to be all 55 that you own. Some already have conservation easements, and some parcels are just either too small or too obscure to bother going through all that legal work.
Right,
So it's
yeah,
more like
exactly.
20.
Yeah, I believe it's 20. Well, I can get back to you the exact number. It's above 20 in terms of, our fee-owned properties.
Right.
And as you mentioned, the conservation easement ones, they have a conservation easement, so they're protected forever. And then other ones we might look at are, we got one for $1 that's less than an acre. It's not really developable. It's part of the right away from the old streetcar. So those kinds of things where, maybe it doesn't make sense. But most we will do that.
Thank you.
It's only for the fee-owned properties, and that's why we have to separate. We can't own the property and hold easement, so we have to put it in LLC's name and we get the easement. All the other properties that have easements are owned by somebody else. We have the easement and we can enforce that easement against them. So
Sure.
Thank you.
And some of them we own, like, for example, Sherman Road have easements held by others. We own the land, but the Western Reserve Land Conservancy owns conservation easement, for example, on that entire property. So, we're all good there.
Jamie, any idea how robust the EQIP program is?
That's a
If I
good
were a
point.
landowner and I was applying to take 10 grand to get rid of my invasive, how much do you think the program had a successful application?
Yeah, that's a good question. And Nat has been leading that, but I did see some communication from our contact with the foresters that I think that they think between 60 to 80% of the cost will be covered. It just depends. It's kind of TBD. I think that they're learning this year's maybe a little bit different than past years, you know, as the government kind of changed over. But that's the estimate. And the other idea is that, you know, so I understand it with EQIP is that you get funding over subsequent years, and you're reimbursed for that. So it's not like they give you blank checks and you just, you know, and you got to give money back. They reimburse you once you've done the work.
Jamie, just first, thanks for the update. And then a quick question. So I assume going forward, any new purchase that the Land Conservancy does of a property will go through this new process.
Right, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Correct.
I just have one comment. I know in the comprehensive plan, one of the most important things people said is keeping the village the way it is. And Conservancy is probably the most consequential organization, keeping the village the way it is. Thank you.
I think what we've learned too, at least what I've learned in the last 2 years is the Conservancy and the village can stretch their hands and their arms and encompass a lot more than doing it individually. We have access and cooperation now with the Metro Parks. We have access with Chagrin River Watershed Partners. We've got nice relationships with Holden Arboretum. We're aware of EQIP grants and ODNR grants and other grants that are out there, either to a municipality that a nonprofit isn't entitled to, or the opposite of that, a nonprofit such as the Conservancy that a municipality isn't able to have. So it's nice to have both organizations moving in the same direction. I think we can accomplish a lot more working together in that spirit. Any other comments? Okay, Jamie, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, item number 6. I am excited to say that we have reached that point where we have taken a group of volunteers called the Senior Citizens Program and organized them over a period of 6 months, supported by a survey that was responded to by close to 40% of the village. And not just seniors in the village, but other individuals in the village who support seniors or elderly. And that group, you know, is called the Aging Well Group. And we have, at the last council meeting, discussed supplementing the services that the village could provide with those services of the Community Partnership on Aging. Council approved that document last meeting and we signed it. We will become effective with the Community Partnership on Aging on March 1. And part of that is to finalize kind of the formalities of what we need. I thought it was appropriate after 6 months of asking this group to just continue to work informally to actually organize them as a committee of council, if you will. And so you have legislation that talks about that and appoints Jen Bohink and Joy Banish as the co-chairs of that for the next year and a half. I've also met with the other mayors of the other 6 communities over the last 2 weeks. We've had 2 meetings to understand the CPA activities and how Gates Mills can participate in those. We don't need to, and we won't participate in everything. For example, we're not going to participate in senior transportation services because there just was not much of an expressed need for that in the survey. But other things such as programming or social work or meals or whatever, we are participating in. In addition to what CPA offers, we will provide some services through the Aging Well community. For example, over the next 4 to 5 months, we will have, as a starting of this, a luncheon or breakfast once a month, led by a village leader to talk to seniors and anyone else that wants to participate about happenings in the village. So if we do the first one in March and the mayor is responsible for that, we might talk, for example, about the priorities of the village. We'll have one with the police chief. We'll have one with the fire chief. We'll hopefully have one with members of council. A chance to give council, a chance to have residents and senior residents hear from the leaders of the village about what's happening and raise questions and points of information. We'll also have some cards that they could tell us what they want to hear about for future meetings. So we shape this as not just a standard gathering meeting, but one that's informative to them about topics that they want to hear. And we'll start that off with March and a meeting that I'll lead. We're hopeful that that brings 30 or 40 people together for a lunch or a cup of coffee or a donut or something like that, and that we can just continue to feed on that. There's also, as we talked, a bunch of activities that we do that this will be a nice place for. We talked about cookie baking at Christmas that Karen has started. A few of you know this, but our former mayor and now my wife and I cook and distributed cookie tins to individuals that live in the village alone. And those are delivered the day before Christmas, and there's close to 25 to 30 people on that list. And somebody said, well, why don't we just do that as an activity? We got a lot of people here that can bake, and we've got a kitchen, and that could be a fun thing to do. And why don't we start that in August and cook them up and freeze them and, you know, share the load, so to speak, share the love. So there's other things I think like that that can come out of the woodwork if they have a place to land. There's also a desire to do things with some of the schools. And we've had a few people, Grace Ann Bourne being one, who with her son in high school wants him and his sophomore friends to do service activities. And so this would be perhaps a good place to do service activities. So excited that we're ready to go on this. We have put together a rules of the road. I think former Councilmember Deacon's in the hallway, in the gallery over there, and mentioned that we should make sure we have kind of an operating understanding. So that's been worked on and cleaned up and documented. And I guess I'll just take any questions at this point. And if not, then I'd like to get approval for the committee. Are there any questions about the scope or the responsibilities?
So, Steve, I think the committee selection, we're lucky to have people like this. I'm biased about some of the people on this list, but they're outstanding. Since we've already approved the contract with CPA and everyone's ready to get working. I know there was some question whether this is an emergency measure, but I think given the quality of the people that we have, I'm not really sure it makes any sense to subject this to 3 readings because I approved first go around at least time. So I would move to suspend the rules on resolution rules for 3 readings. A resolution.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to suspend the rules. Any discussion on that item? Roll call, please, on the suspension question.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Ronesco,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner. Yes. Young.
All right, and then I would move approval of resolution 2026-16, a resolution confirming the mayor's formation of an ad hoc committee to be known as the Aging Well Committee. Appointees thereto and declaring an emergency. Oh. I think I'm gonna say, and declaring that that suspended the rules because it would serve no useful purpose whatsoever to 3 readings, given the quality of the people that are on the.
Second.
Thank you, Karen. We've had a first and a second. Is there any discussion on the resolution? Roll call, please.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Ronesco,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner. Young.
Yes.
Thank you. We're excited to do this, and it's actually been great to see over 8 months the continued excitement that we have, including John Anusko's daughter, who's zooming in on meetings from time to time.
She's excited.
Thank you. Continuing on the topics of fun, we had a meeting on the 200th anniversary of the village. This was attended by at least 20-some people. I had asked the various leaders of the various organizations and other individuals that I thought had an interest in the topic or could just contribute to it to meet, and we did about 2 weeks ago. Individuals from Encore, the Community Club, Historical Society, the Improvement Society, the Gates Mills Players, the Garden Club, the Friends of the Library, the Elementary School PTC, the Land Conservancy, the Pink Sheet, the Art Show, the Town Hall Coordinator, and others that are listed on here. And the goal was to understand from each of those what their organizations had been or have been or maybe are planning to do with regard to the 200th anniversary. And what we came to realize is that, you know, we will have a series of activities happening every month, and we'll put somewhat of an umbrella over them and label them as the 200th anniversary. Gene Mish has been good enough to be working with logos, so we have something that'll be a 200th logo for the Village of Gates Mills. And then we'll publish these both online and in some kind of a pamphlet and have people recognize that over the next 6 to 8 months, there'll be an activity almost every month, maybe 2 a month. For example, Encore's theme this year is Coming Home. And isn't that quite appropriate for a 200th anniversary? The Gates Mills Players has a series of one-act plays that are going to be labeled as It Takes a Village. And other things that are kind of neat that way. The 5K run that we're going to do with the PTC again, the Foxtrot's going to have a 200 step or 200 yard or 200 mile, some kind of a 200 element to it. Megan says she's going to get creative with Hermes and the race organizers and find something like that. So everybody has, not everybody has, but many of them have different things. I've just gotten what Gene has typed up on that, and we'll get that out to you tomorrow or maybe in 2 days after I read it, and let you see what we're planning as well as get your ideas. The 200th anniversary will also include the parade, and I've talked to Clark Langmack and others about how we continue to emphasize that in the parade, not just as a theme, but are there other bigger and better things that we might be able to do? So a lot happening. We probably one thing that we will come back to council for is we have a very strict signage ordinance in the village. And signs can only be of a certain size and up for a certain place and up for a certain amount of time. And in this 200th anniversary, we may ask for a variance of that so we can have a little more celebratory than up and down in 2 weeks and the party's over. So you see these all over the place. Pepper Pike had theirs last year, I think, is 100. I understand the elementary schools it has its 100th anniversary coming up as well. Certainly America has its 250th anniversary. So a lot of good anniversaries this year, and we'll want to celebrate those too. If any of you want to be on this, this is not a committee, this is just a gathering. Trying to be very careful of protocol here and transparency and doing things the right way. So this is just a group that's been planning this with us. You're welcome to join or sign in. We have these meetings on Zoom as well as in person. Okay, the third item, back on the content, the theme of fun is the Arboretum. I met with the Arboretum group last week. As you may know, the Arboretum was started in 1935 at the request of the Garden Club to the Village Council to essentially take the land that was the former land owned by the railroad that was used for the cars and storage and so on and so forth, and create a world-class, at least a Cleveland-class Arboretum. And for the last 90 years, the Garden Club has done that. The Arboretum is that piece of land that is at the end of the railroad bridge by the Liberty Tavern, that goes behind the post office, that is bordered on the west by the river, on the right by the road, and kind of ends up in Marston Park. It's in need of some work. And so 2 years ago, we started a project to eliminate the invasives. And we're in year 2 of that. You've seen that work and those costs. The Garden Club has taken up the challenge that we gave them an opportunity to take a year and a half ago, to again be the stewards and the preservers of what is a wildflower, what will be rebuilding a wildflower preserve. And through their volunteer efforts and at their nickel, they have identified on their staff a very accomplished landscape architect, Patty Crow, who's been working with us and with Better Woods and Meadows, with Chris coordinating, myself and others, to essentially lay out what would be a wildflower preserve again. Her work was presented to us last week and calls for a few things. First of all, as we would expect, when you have the invasives eliminated, which would be about a year from now, the land would therefore be ready to be planted. You certainly don't want to plant 2,000 flowers and then have them not have any sun or rain. There's a fair amount of wood in that arboretum area that needs to be thinned out. So we will have a tree thinning plan, and that will be reviewed by our arborist, and we need to provide essentially some additional light and air. The Garden Club and Patty have put together completions of the trails. There's a few trails that were put in there, but those essentially have either ended or you have to stop and turn around because it's too dense to be able to walk through. We want those to be a bit more friendly. They've taken the arboretum, they divided into 7 zones and have identified what plants will go in what zone. The village needs to do some work to both thin out the trees and also provide better steps. If you have been there recently, you'll understand that the steps are particularly dangerous. They're essentially railroad or landscape ties, most of which are rotted, may or may not have a railing, and it's just not safe for anybody. So we've been working with Dave and with Chris to identify whether the village has, for example, limestone curbing that we could use as steps. If not, perhaps we do concrete or we find a landscape person that can help us. At the end of the day, when we have the woods thinned out and the steps rebuilt and the trails completed, the Garden Club has committed to plant 2,200 flowers to essentially finish the renovation of the arboretum. So it is really cool. As you guys know, my wife and I we like gardening and those kinds of things. So this is obviously a project near and dear to a lot of people's individual hearts, but it's really going to be a place where anybody in the village or people from the east side or from out of the state can come and say, boy, I've just walked through this arboretum and here's the different varieties that are there. So I'm inclined over the next several weeks to put together a little pamphlet and send it out within the village that just explains the project. People see that we're doing things there. They see the vegetation that's been killed. They see people turning dirt over. They're probably wondering what this is all about. So we'll put together a bit of a package that'll have flowers and it'll have a copy of the map and a copy of the zones. And we've got, I think, 30 different elements of horticulture that will go in there. That, by the way, is their contribution to the 200th birthday of the village, as well as some other people. I'm getting done with fun stuff. Any questions on that? Okay. The last item on the mayor's report is the 26 priorities. We had, at the last meeting, presented those to council as things to take a look at. There's about 7 priority, there's 3 priorities in the village, and there are 6 or 7 or 8 tasks for each of those priorities. That means there's other things that are important to do, but they may not be as important as these priorities or may not be as strategic. So I've heard from a few council people. It would be good to cover anything that you want now. I can give you a little sense of what some of the comments were that came from your colleagues, as well as comments that you might have. But generally, I think without going through each of these, within the safety element, 5 and 6 require some conversation. The police locker room and the squad room, which are in the basement of Town Hall, essentially are the same ones that were there when the building was built 90 years ago. And there have been few upgrades to that. You may or may not know that in the past, the village had an active jail. We had prisoners, we had a booking room, we had all the things that you'd expect a jail to have. We haven't had those in probably close to 20 years, and that space has just been filled and not filled well. So we have space down there, but we don't have really good suitable space. So one thing I want to do is to take a look at the locker rooms. And frankly, our lockers are so small that you can't get your uniform and your Kevlar vest and your gear inside your locker, so you hang it outside the locker. And we don't have men's and women's facilities. They're all just one locker room. There's some things that we could do to make it a little bit better. And likewise, our squad room, which is where they work and file their reports and do their research, is essentially a computer desk or two kind of in the hallway. It doesn't really provide much privacy. So there's some things that we could do there. It does beg the question, while this is really old, and should we do something a little bit bolder? And maybe the first step in that is to have someone that's in this business tell us what we could do with the space we currently have, and then perhaps how we move from there. That fits into item number 6, which is the town hall and the future needs. Again, we have a building that's 90 years old. It's historically important. It looks attractive from the outside. Once you get inside, it's a difficult building to move around in. There are no elevators. There's limited ADA access. Security doors separate half the department and the people from those that they want to talk to. Dave and Chief and the lieutenant and the sergeants are all upstairs behind a locked door. So if a resident wants to come and talk about a planning or zoning things, they have to either be buzzed up or come down and things like that. So I think this is, without having an answer right now, I think this is something that needs to be evaluated this year and start to get some ideas and some conversation on what this would look like. The other item that was talked about on here, was talked about last time that isn't on here, is putting together a 3 to 5 year financial plan. Now that we know what the fire truck is cost us and we've committed to it, and we have completed the on-site work for the railroad bridge. We don't have the estimates of that, but they just finished the work last week in the snow and the ice. We'll get a sense for what it's going to cost to clean, repair, replace, and fix the bridge. And there could be some other things such as town hall or what have you that need some attention. So we haven't had a 3 to 5 year plan in the last year. We've pretty much relied on the good experience that we've had over those last several years without these commitments, but we know we'll have some commitments in front of us, and we should figure out and factor in how those fit in. I'm not sure where that would fit on these priorities. It would probably fit in other matters, and so we'll put a little caption there and talk about that. Let me pause there and see if anyone from council has comments on these priorities, either ones that you've sent before that I haven't summarized or ones that you've thought about over the last couple of days. And if you're good, you're good. We had a lot of material in here. I had 1 or 2 people say, wow, this is really helpful and it's good that it's organized this way and there's a lot on here. You're welcome to cross things off if you want. That would make the life of me and the fellows along the wall and Janet a little easier. But I do think this is a good representation of what we're about to do in the village this year. John, any comments?
I mean, obviously, I'm a big proponent of, I will say something that I think is very relevant, and that was yesterday. We had a bit of a mishap with scheduling a meeting, with Techspert about implementation of the hardware that we were putting next door. And I had the opportunity to, because of that mishap, we weren't able to go into the little conference room over there. I had to go back where the staff sits behind the counter when you go in there. I can tell you that as I sat there, my jaw dropped as to what they were doing in that space was absolutely mind-boggling. It was the stuff of comedies that you would see on TV. First of all, the one computer takes 20 minutes to boot, so she gets in a half an hour early so she can start her computer. That's solvable, absolutely solvable. But while I was sitting there, there's a beeping behind me because the generator, which is, how many years old is that generator? I I don't even know. But the generator behind is, every once in a while on a startup is beeping. So then she gets up, goes there, opens up the cabinet, stops the beeping. It's about 85 degrees back there. So their method of cooling it is to open the window. There's no room at all to even sit in there. So then we're trying to get the technology to work. And yes, we have some technology problems that we've got to do. And we're sitting in this room that, was made, I don't know, 100 years ago?
Yes.
100 years ago, and we're trying to make do as an organization, and to run the village off of that. And so I think it was very enlightening when I sat back there. So you're gonna be finding me a big proponent over the. I mean, I'm not going to hide it. Over a big proponent that we need to make some bigger changes. It's hard to make a 100-year-old building work for what we're doing. I mean, we are not the same organization we were 100 years ago. So I have been downstairs in Village Hall, and I welcome anybody to walk through with me and say that this is actually a humane environment to work in. And I do use the word humane in caps and bold. It is an incredible walkthrough, and I'll do some YouTube videos and I'll do all that to get through the building. But I'm going to be looking very carefully at any renovation costs that we're going to put into a building that's 100 years old, and say, would that be better off to look at something that's more robust in terms of a plan? And I'll keep everyone informed on that. But for me, I'll start that process, and I welcome anybody else to talk with me about it. But right now, all I'm doing is looking and saying, hey, first of all, even from what we're going to vote on later on today, which is to augment the technology that's in there, it is really hard to do in a 100-year-old building to put anything in there. So, I'm going to look at what there is available and the options that we have. And I do want to end it with saying that the conditions by which we force our heroes of our community to work are horrible. But it keeps coming back to inhumane. That word really comes back. I mean, when you go downstairs and you see, there's no ADA facilities there. I could go on and on forever, but I think a YouTube video is probably going to be the best. And walkthroughs with everybody to say, this is where we're expecting our people to work, and it is just wrong right now. So we really got to crack that open and say, what can we do about it that's better than there right now.
Thank you. And I know my friend Lisa, who's sitting in the gallery over there, will be kind in terms of the words that she uses when she types up her article this week.
Steve, last year, I think you provided a ranking too of where the priorities were in terms of completion. I thought that was helpful as a resident and probably also helpful for council in tracking progress. So if we're able to do that again, that would be great.
We're going to, now that we have the aging well in order and we've got the 200th anniversary launched, Gene and team are going to work on the annual report. So yeah, thank you for that. Okay, I'll assume we're going to reword these a little bit. I'll work with Karen and John on the two that they mentioned. We'll add in the 5-year plan, 3-year, 5-year plan as another matter. And again, if anybody has any wordsmithing, let me know. Otherwise, we'll kind of publish these as what our priorities are for this year for the village. Okay. Okay, I'm going to move to item number 7, financial report. You have the the first month there, and there's a written report. We did come up a little bit better. We're off to a good start in January. It's obviously only 1 month. It's cash basis. It's government accounting, so don't fall in love with that. We know that February will be a tough month. Real estate tax bills in Cuyahoga County did not go out as soon as they had in the past, maybe a month late. And so those receipts aren't going to come in February the way they came in when you had a December bill. And February will have real estate tax receipts down significantly to be made up by March. But, we pretty much know what we can plan for the year because those amounts are based on appraisals and we have those locked in, but there will be some fluctuations. Any questions on the financials for January? John?
I actually just had a comment because I've been at Village Hall now more than more than I have been in the past. And one of the things that was interesting to me when we were talking about, I was talking with Gene about this, and we were talking about how receipts come into the village and how unpredictable those receipts are. As a businessman, I always want to equate the running of the village to something like a business. And every turn I make makes it seem, wow, like there's no predictability. There's nothing that you can really plan accordingly. You can plan over the longer term, which is of course what government does. But one of the things I thought was really interesting was those the receipts itself, and the variability between years. You couldn't even count on last year's receipts being on something that you were going to get this year based on there was a really interesting way in which the county says, okay, we're going to give you estimates this year. And they were off by hundreds of thousands of dollars over last year. So when you're trying to pay bills and you've got to figure out where you're going to get money from, you can't say that, oh, last year we got this amount of money and this year we're going to get a similar amount of money to pay the bills. Instead, you have to do this juggling act because indeed this year they're giving us hundreds of thousands of dollars less. Now it'll be recouped in a few months, but we have to pay bills this month. So you have to juggle that. And that's not something that you normally have in any business. And I would say that Gates Mills is made up of a lot of business people. And it's easy to get into the belief that it runs at all like a business. And to me, it was fascinating, but also I would pull my hair out. I wouldn't have any idea. I wouldn't be able to live with, that unpredictability that was in there. And I thought it was an amazing thing, just that little blurb, just to say, okay, wow, that is totally different than business. There is nothing at all that has any kind of semblance to how we would manage cash flow in a business.
Their mayor might tell you that I'm losing hair.
Yeah, that's it.
What John's referring to, I think, is last year in February, we received, our real estate advance was $700,000. This year in February, it was $135,000. So it's.
I was off on that.
it's
Wow,
tight.
that's daunting.
Next item on the agenda, clerk's report. Any report?
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda, Treasurer Chuck Spear, anything on the treasurer side?
Yeah, a couple of things.
Thank you.
One thing I'm not getting any information on, and if you know anything, let me know, is this constitutional amendment to eliminate real estate. The governor a couple of days ago sounded the alarm saying it would be a catastrophe, that we would have to have a sales tax of 20%. Of course, we get some of the real estate, don't get some of the sales. So if that were to pass, it would drop $2.5 in. So if you hear anything about it, let me know. Petitions have to be signed at the end of June to get some process. So I attended a hearing in Columbus on a thing called HB 503, which is a proposal to wrest away from the village some of the movement it has in terms of tax credit. I have to say it was a lovely drive back. Learn a lot. Finally, last month I circulated for you a paper on real estate tax. The response to that was so overwhelming that I have another one for you this month on how income tax works. I think it's first of all, it's a one-page text, so that'll help. But it also will give you a good sense of where our taxes fit relative to every other. So I'll have. That's all.
Second item that you mentioned is important because the village has very few ways, should it find itself in a financial mess, to move quickly. You can't build 100 new homes, have them up there and appraised and get real estate taxes that quickly, nor can you do that with income taxes. One lever that we do have, which we've never used, is adjusting the tax credit that is applied. And what Chuck attended after he and I chatted, and I asked him to look into it, and he was good enough to drive down there, is the state's desire to take away that right of council to adjust the credit. and require the citizens to decide whether they want that done. And that would, again, be a lever that we wouldn't be able to use should there be a financial shortfall or something significant in that manner. So the state of Ohio is looking for a variety of ways to try to reduce taxes of the individuals, real estate taxes, income taxes, sales taxes, and we're following them. None of them directly affect us, and some have been discussed for years, but they keep coming up, and I'm fortunate that Chuck is interested in that topic and can really bird dog that for us. Thank you, Chuck. Next item, police report, Chief Minichillo.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of council, everybody should have received a copy of my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have. One thing I did want to mention, January was a rough month for the officers out there on the road. You can imagine with the weather and everything like that. The one weekend, and it was 3 weeks ago, whenever it was, we got all that snowfall. We had 18 disabled vehicles in 2 days over that weekend that were reported. Cars sliding off the road. Service Pro was obviously out doing a great job, as much as, you know, they try to keep up as much as they could, which is impossible when you get weather like that. But yeah, I mean, so they were quite busy. Not a lot of downtime for both shifts. Didn't even matter. Time of day, it was just constant snowfall. A couple weekends there, and it was probably I don't want to say traffic wise necessarily, but it was probably one of the busier Januaries we've had when it comes to snowfall and, you know, ice and, you know, everything else. So just wanted to point that out. But we got through it, and they were out there doing what they do, helping people, and you know, and they were very cold doing it. It was the cold was just unbelievable, as well, as I think everybody knows. So I wanted to bring that to everybody's attention. But I'll take any questions if anybody has any.
I would just say we've had tremendous support from the police, the fire, the EMS, and the service department over the last 4 weeks with the weather. We've seen cars being pulled out of ditches, and the number of hours that the men and the women have put in. We had one that didn't fall in the ice and get hurt. Kenny's out for a couple of weeks. And, you know, it's dangerous work. We think it's when you look out your window and you see somebody go by, you smile and you're glad that they're there, but they're there at, you know, 4 or 5 in the morning, so that the hills are relatively open and clean, and people can get around, especially if they got an emergency vehicle. So to everybody on the service, fire, EMS, and police teams, you know, they've done a fabulous job the last 4 weeks. Anything else,
Thank you.
Greg?
I appreciate that. I was just going to, you know, just some of the disabled vehicles. I mean, FedEx drivers, DoorDash, you know, they get off at Brigham Road, Swiler Drive, where it's tight in there. They pull in the driveway, they can't get out. You know, we're calling for private tows, and you know, you can only do so much. But Scott, by your house over there, FedEx driver got caught, you know, ended up in the front yard at the bend.
Just missed our mailbox.
I mean, it was very, very strange. On county line, south end of county line, there was a car, one of the common driveways down there, couldn't get out, had to leave it overnight. You know, had to let the resident know they can't go anywhere, call for it. It was like 2 a.m, you know, and so like, hey, you know, so, but, you know, we got through it, but,
Thank you.
that'll
thank
conclude
you.
my report. Thank you.
Snow removal was incredible also. Absolutely incredible.
Dave, you're up. You want to talk about snow removal? How many more tons you need?
Certainly.
Don't tell them what the overtime numbers look like for
Yeah.
February. That'll choke.
Yeah, for sure. So you should have received a copy of my monthly report. I'm happy to answer any questions for you.
Yeah, Dave. I saw some of the villages or communities surrounding us were having a shortfall of salt, and we're adjusting their,
Correct.
I guess, road clearing practices as a result. So I just wanted to hear a little bit about where we stand in terms of our salt and delivery challenges.
Yeah, well, as of today, we're fine. You know, during that episode of the chain of storms we had, we did have a little bit of an issue. I think it was it was really 3 things that caused the issue. Number one, Cargill just did not mine enough salt and process it in a timely fashion. 2 was a shipping problem. They just didn't have enough trucks or truckers to deliver the salt. And three, the state, when storms like these come up, the state kind of locks all the salt down. They need theirs first before anybody else can get any. So I think that was kind of a perfect storm of those three all coming together. We did have a period during that. I think we had 3 orders in for about 400 tons, and we were told we'll get to you in about 3 weeks. So we were close. Fortunately, a nearby community did loan us 3 truckloads of salt just to have a little bit of a backup or a safety margin. But we got our orders in. The bin's I'd say about 80% full. We did give them back their 3 truckloads. So we gave it that and really do appreciate that. It was just, we were getting close, but we wanted to make sure that if something like an ice storm came, that we were prepared for it. So we got through it and in reasonable shape. But, and we have a minimum 400 tons more we have to buy for the season. So I think we'll be good.
You comment on Ted's retirement, his replacement, the gentleman that we've.
Yes. So Ted did retire, I think it was the beginning of this month. We did hire a gentleman coming from the landscape industry. So he's used to plowing. We've got him in one of what we call one of the medium duty trucks. He's doing very well. He is working on his CDL, which will then put him in next year into the bigger trucks for the hills. His name is Mike Sanders. He's a wonderful guy, seems very talented, very enthusiastic, very happy to be with us. And I think long-term is going to be a really good employee for us. As the mayor did mention, unfortunately, we did have one of our guys get injured. He has a knee injury. It's a fractured knee. He's waiting to get an MRI. As of now, he's not returning until I think the 3rd of March, 2nd of March. So he'll be out.
Any questions for Dave?
Dave, I would assume that, is my observation, the winter's being pretty hard on the roads right now. That an assessment, seeing if we have to adjust the road program at all. I groan when I think about all the previous thaw that you can see.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, Chris, we get that evaluation every 5 years, kind of lay out a 5-year program, 3 and 5 year program. Certainly each year before we go into, which we're working on now, preparing our road program, we'll go through and say, whoops, this one was on next year's list, but we really got to push it to this year. And we'll juggle around our 5-year plan accordingly to do that.
Dave, would you or Chris want to just talk about the dam remnant removal program and the bids process?
Yeah, hopefully I'll let Chris do it because he probably knows a little more than I do.
Thank you.
Dave,
Tom, you're up.
before you leave, I think it's important to announce that after the last big dump, I ordered a big new snow blower. And it recently was delivered, and now that it's set up and ready to go, I'm sure we're not gonna have any more this year.
Thank you. Well,
Thank you for guaranteeing no more snow. For the dam removal project, the remnants of the dam, we have a grant. Sugar River Watershed Partners is administering it. We had a coordination meeting today. We do one on a monthly basis. The project was advertised. There was one bid that was received, design build from Davie Resource Group, who we've dealt with on the Riverbank Stabilization Project we did downtown. I've got a great working relationship with. Very comfortable with their bid. There's a couple questions they had, and a couple questions we had of them that have all been resolved satisfactorily. Josh Myers with the Watershed Partners will now set about getting contracts ready for Davie. And then once that's done, we will get a kickoff meeting going. One question that still requires a little fine tuning is exactly what we're going to do along the west side of the river. where the memorial rock is and where the valve is for the water feed for the hunt club, and where there's still one piece of the dam that's kind of attached and sticking out of the bank. On exactly how we're going to treat that. We may leave some of that in place for historical reasons and for stability reasons next to Schooner River Road, but we'll refine that as we get rid of the snow and ice and we're able to take a little closer look at it and get down in there and assess what's going on. But other than that, that should be moving forward. The timeline that Davy's going to do at Mayor is in line with what we were hoping for, which is July, August of this year. And the whole project, once they actually get boots on the ground and are doing the work, should take about 3 weeks. That would be to collect all the old pieces of the dam, pluck the one out of the far side and do some bank stabilization over there. That's it.
Chris, quick question on any foreseen damage to Chagrin River Road with hauling all that out of there? Is that going to be pieces, parts, additional weight on the roads through there on the pavement, wear and tear?
Yeah, we'll talk to them and make sure they keep their loads as light as possible. So it won't be anything than a normal load that's allowed on the road right now. I don't anticipate them building a ramp down into the river. I think they'll probably be picking things up and they'll close the lane closest to the river and be able to load stuff up. It'll be during low water, so they should be able to go get it, bring it over, break it up, and then load it up and take it out. But we'll make sure we address that at the pre-construction.
Thanks.
As well.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
You've got something else, Dave?
Well, I think you wanted to talk about the salt bin. So that,
I do not.
oh, okay. Well,
I don't have anything that I've given to council in advance, so let's pass for this meeting.
okay.
Okay, thank you. It's good that it's on the agenda. We don't forget it, but yeah, we'll get that one next time. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You've gotten a copy of my written report. I can answer any questions on the written report. I would like to add to my report that we were notified by the state fire marshal that our 70% grant for two of our candidates that went to fire school last year came in. So the village is going to be reimbursed $6,940. Captain Feig also put in for a grant for an equipment grant from the state fire marshal's office, but we will not find out if we received the grant until later on this year. We are investigating turning in for a grant too through the Bureau of Workmen's Compensation for turnout gear. And we should find out about that within the next year.
While you think about questions for Tom, I do want to just recall that when we started the cadet program last year, we knew that that was kind of our investment to start that up again and agreed to pay for the training for those individuals subject, hopefully, to reimbursement from the state. And because those costs for an individual are just costs that people really can't bear anymore. Years ago, it might have been a few $100s. Now it's $5,000 a person to go there. And then you've got to get your gear and such. So thanks to council of a year or two ago that said, let's go for the program. We'll take the risk. And I'm glad that we were able to get the grant paperwork filled out and the grants back, the reimbursements back. So thank you, Tom.
I think half of this will stay with us and half of us goes to one of the candidates because they actually half of this will end stay.
We need to keep seeing those kind of programs and help people if we can. People want to know why there aren't more firefighters, more police officers, and more EMS. You've got to look at some of the cost of entry of some of these things, and if there's things that we can do as a community, we should make sure we think through those. Tom, anything else? Questions, Scott?
So, Tom, the county line and Sherman Road, the accident with injuries, is that intersection that I just being, driving that way a lot, noticed. But term time. A good spot. Time. Some people determined to try to get around. And then, Tom, the, fire at 27,600 Chardon Road, that was,
That's correct.
is that just a factor of size? Have by
Well, the way our regional program works, we are in mutual aid and automatic aid to other communities who in turn give us mutual aid. For example, when we have an actual fire call here, the EMS squad actually comes from Willoughby Hills. So in return for that service, we are automatic aid for some of their areas. It just so happens that as they fill these boxes through dispatch, if there's a company that's already committed to another call or can't respond because they're out on EMS calls, they go to the next company. And a lot of times that's how we're being captured in these boxes.
That's an interesting one.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. And thanks for the good work. Dave, you too with your guys, this year, this winter. Next item, committee reports. Ms. Deacon, would you mind commenting on the broadband report, please?
Hey, Murray. Well, welcome back. Thank you. Monthly progress meetings have started with CBG. They're the second Thursday of each month. Chris Courtney has put together a really nice template that we go through, that goes through issues or concerns or whatever. Chris, I don't know, any update that you want to give from the meeting last Thursday?
So everybody, just so everybody's aware. The things we go through are progress that's been made in the last month with their construction crews. And in this case, they've made it from Chagrin River Road up to around Beverly, and they've started going up Beverly. What the current work areas are, and they were back at work on Beverly today after they had some equipment maintenance issues. And then we discuss any problems that have been encountered over the course of the last month, how they've been addressed, or if they do need to be addressed, we game plan on how any of those issues can be resolved, such as cleanup of extra drilling fluid, how they were coordinating with scheduling their crews and not advising us where they're going to be working. Those are things we've worked through in the last month. We then take a look at their updated 16-week look-ahead schedule, where they let us know where they anticipate working for the next 16 weeks, and that's updated on a monthly basis. And then we discuss any communication issues, marketing issues, et cetera. And just so everybody is aware, over the course of the next 16 weeks, you can expect work on the following streets: Beverly, Chagrin River Road, Epping, Deerfield, Berkshire, Chelsea, Sudbury, Kenwin, Som Center, Dorchester, Mayfield, Carpenter, Old Mill, Glenwood, Colvin, and Glen Echo. And that is weather dependent and also dependent upon any equipment breakdowns that they have or any problems that they encounter dealing with subsurface conditions. And this information, again, we meet on a monthly basis, second Thursday of each month at 2 o'clock to discuss that.
We also go through just a quick kind of deliverables list under the agreement, so that we, can sort of stay coordinated on CBG and village meeting, our different obligations under the agreement. As far as communication is concerned, they've had some calls from residents and questions. There is information that is on the village website. There's a letter entitled Happy Holidays from CVG that has a lot of information in it. It goes through what to expect during construction, getting ready for service, how can I learn more? So a lot of good reference. They're working on another communication. We haven't reviewed it yet with the village that will go out where we stand today, why fiber to the home matters, what comes next, that type of thing. So look for that soon. In addition, let's see. So one thing we also wanted to mention is that there is a provider out there who's talking about fiber power. I know John's nodding. That means that fiber is upstream and it's not to the home. So we just wanted to make sure that residents understood that what CVG is providing is fiber to the home. John, do you want to elaborate?
No, I'm dying to.
Okay.
It was killing me. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of misinformation coming right now as certain companies don't want to lose their business to something that is so affordable and so to the home. So this is a pipe to each of everybody's house up to well, theoretically up to 25 gigabit, but right now the package is 1 gigabit, and that is both ways, full tunnel, dedicated to each and every household. When someone says fiber powered, that means there's fiber somewhere getting to some place that you're now sharing over, and I'll use the medium by which it comes, the cable line coming to your house, which means that it can only do a maximum of 1 gigabit to your house and usually 1 gigabit to house and usually 50 megabits up. So we're talking about a very tiny funnel coming off of a shared node that might have fiber coming to it, but it is not fiber to the home. That end run, which is you can have, as I'm trying to think of a good analogy, but you can have as much water as you want coming through the massive pipe. But if you only have a little spigot at your house, that's what you're going to get. So that is the misinformation that we're going to have to deal with. So I urge everybody to, I'll probably come up with some communication that actually shows a diagram that shows that a little bit better. But be prepared for miscommunication because nobody wants to lose their customers to this for basically the same price.
I just wanted to mention one more thing. Everybody listens to this probably who may be out there watching and they think to themselves, that's all great. When am I going to get better internet at my house? So I've asked CVG to put together a map using our village map that'll break the village up into maybe 6 or 8 different areas, color code them and just indicate within this area you can expect to have internet service by this date. It'll be a rough guide so people can just look at it and understand when they can expect work in their area, when they can expect to get it. It's a very simple tool.
A lot of people are asking that question. So thanks, Chris. That's all I have. Going well.
There was one more key thing that I thought was interesting. The discussion that we had there was, well, with this big, huge ice storm, is it going to delay everything by 2 weeks? And I was shocked when they said no. And they said, we'll just hire some more people and make up for it over the course of the next 3 months. And I was like, wow, that was impressive to me.
Questions or all good?
They go good. We'll see you next month.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you for coming in.
And get the word out. Make sure everyone tells everybody to sign up.
Or even more importantly, don't sign up with anyone else until you at least talk to CVG, right? Right. Be careful.
Text me or DM me, email me. If you send me personally your bills, I'll tell you exactly what's going to happen, what's different. Don't be shy. I'm more than happy to do, I would say non-biased comparison, but I do have a bias. Right. So what's going to happen with full fiber is you're going to get both down and up and dedicated. So there are three different facets of that. You're not sharing it. It's actually back to the trunk. And what happens is that what people don't understand these days is that the upstream FaceTime, great example. If I want to have a FaceTime call with you and it's all blotchy and everything, that's because one side has a bad upstream. When I actually want to FaceTime with you, it's not only getting your content to me, it's actually sending it to you. And that's where everything breaks down. So if your upstream provider, and even though it's like theoretically 50 up, most of the times you'll see anywhere from 8 to 15 up. That's not really enough to support, especially 2 outbound FaceTimes, Zooms, 2 outbound coming from your house to somewhere else. That's where everything is hampered. So it's easy to say, yes, I can download a movie in very little time. Absolutely. Are you going to see a difference in your Netflix with 1 gig down? No. But when you try to FaceTime somebody and you're frustrated because it keeps dropping, that's your upstream right there. And that upstream will now be 1 gig versus what it was before, which could be 8 to 15 meg. So that's, I don't know what the point, 1% or whatever of what the upstream will be when you get 1 gig up. So think of it for anything going outbound from your home, that now gets equal priority to your inbound. And yes, it's great to have a Netflix movie come over really quick, but it is more important that when you're on a Zoom call, you don't look like a Minecraft character.
And John, we specifically asked CVG the issue of what happens in 2 years, 4 years, 5 years, and they will have the ability to increase the speeds too. So David, right now 1 gig is the standard. 4 years, the standards too they'll be able to increase it. I think they set up 10, 11.
10 will be easy because it doesn't require back-end infrastructure changes, but the fiber coming to your house is technically capable it's actually capable of easily 25 gigabit. It can go higher, but it gets ludicrous at that point in time. We're talking, something out of this world. But 10 gigabit is easy because the back-end infrastructure all handles 10 gigabit. 10 gigabit is coming here, 10 gigabit's going to my house. The back-end infrastructure handles it. And I will tell you that cable, the max that you will get out of cable is about 1 gigabit. And they're jumping over hurdles with technology to take really old because if you look at a cable, it's got one in the middle and the outside sheath. So they're doing everything they can to squeeze out every last bit of that infrastructure, as well they should, to make it live as long as it possibly can. But 1 gigabit is what you're going to get with any modern technology over a single lane bit of data coming to you.
And we don't have it in writing, but they've stated that they won't charge once they.
Lori and Christopher, next month, could we get a report on the uptake in the village so far and where that is in relation to like what CV Gig thought it would be or kind of their metrics for participation so far?
So we asked them about that. So far, they really just have calls and questions, not a lot of uptake, because they're doing the village first in the elementary school. So they also don't really want a lot of signups early on because then people get anxious about when they are going to get it. So that's still to come, but we'll definitely be asking him. And I think Chris's map that he asked for that'll sort of show the layout will really help people understand too, what the timing will be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it goes directly to what Scott said. So I addressed that when we were in the meeting with them and they had a small number of signups, and I was like, oh my gosh, we got to get the word out. I want to have, hundreds of signups, and they're like, oh, there, like hang on there because everyone will then wait. There's a lot of people who wait a year to get that. And then that year between then and the sign up seems a lot. I still prefer them to get the signups early. I mean, I made that crystal clear that I would love to get those signups early, but to Scott's point, it's more important that they don't sign up with someone else in a long-term contract than that they do sign up here, because they're going to get a sign on the door. They'll get a tag on the door. And as they do each section, there will be information for that section that they get. So.
I think we've covered that thoroughly for this month.
Sorry about that.
Thank you. And Ms. Greco is probably watching my clock, and so I'm gonna say that at least 15 minutes of the last 30 minutes was not under the mayor's control. Okay. Levy Renewal Committee, we're gonna go through this. At the last meeting, you authorized a small committee of three of us to begin a conversation on the need of the levy, and those responsibilities were laid out. The Levy Renewal Committee did meet on Monday, the 9th. David Young and Sandra, I'm looking right at her. And I met, we invited the Land Conservancy to present their views of what the needs were in the village. No decisions were made, no actions were taken. On the 13th, we met, the committee met again, Sandra, myself, and David, and just at the 3:30 or 4, and discussed our reaction to the meeting, as well as what we thought some of the needs were of the levy. Those included topics such as invasives and the need to continue the invasives program, broadening the number of people that we work with in terms of using partnerships such as EQIP, Metro Parks, et cetera. We talked about access to properties. We talked about the number of acres that could be covered. Talked about legal stewardship and the topic that you heard before about easements and deed restrictions and so on to tie up some of the land that's been purchased but perhaps isn't yet legally conserved. And agreed to put together our thoughts on a sheet of paper and meet on the 23rd. So we've shared a paper between the two or three of us. There's been a couple of versions of it. I think at this point it's still rough, so we haven't shared it with council. But our plan would be to, on the 23rd, convene the committee meeting again and probably clean up that sheet of paper, and that could be the basis for our conversation with council and a conversation with the Land Conservancy members. Okay. Okay, next item. Item number 14. So technically, we are required to take certified public record training. And we can fortunately designate Janet, if she's willing to do this, to take that training for us. So if you're inclined to pass motion number 14.
Second.
We just saved a minute there. Didn't even bother reading it.
Before she changes her mind.
Did I summarize that all right, Janet? Spot on, okay. We're gonna do it this way. Roll call, please.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco. Yes. Vanesco.
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner, Young.
Yes.
Thank you, Janet.
Yes.
Thank you, Janet. Okay, item number 15, ordinance 2026-13. This has been revised. It's in front of you. You'll recall that we have to have annual appropriations. Those are different from transfers and actually spending money. This allows us to increase the appropriation amount. We increased the appropriation ordinance for two things on item 13. One is to increase the general fund to the administrative department other expense by $43,775.29. This is all the technology that you approved at the last meeting. Last year that wasn't actually spent. So we need to reappropriate that money. And then secondly, $596,500 to move those funds eventually from the general fund to the safety fund to start putting aside the money for the fire truck. We talked about doing that once we had the contract in place. So would appreciate a motion to suspend the rules on ordinance 20-2613.
So that's I try to follow along. That's the 39,000 to 2025 22. Plus a little bit extra, some other equipment stuff on that invoice. So I think
That-
all of that. So
That was the question I had. Does this include the labor in item 11?
Yeah,
John or
you'll see
Jean?
Does
on the back side of
Yeah.
in the little box, there's the, 43,775.
Yeah,
That one includes the install.
so that's the labor that wasn't included
Right.
last year though in the
Well,
summary.
And
of
last year I think
change.
had some labor, but I
Yeah.
think it's gone up because
prior one was 30,000 some dollars.
It's
We approved
39.
39,000 to pick up some of the
The
labor.
labor, yeah.
And then I was just looking at the invoices, a little bit of.
Adam
Right.
thinks this may be high. That's the number. he thinks.
So I would move to suspend the rules, barring rereading ordinance number 2026-13. Ordinance to amend annual appropriation ordinance for 5. To increase certain appropriations, and other expenditures. Mills, Ohio, for the school.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion to suspend the rules? Roll call, please.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Vanessa,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner, Young.
Yes.
I'd move to approve ordinance number 2026-13, as see right.
Second.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Megan. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Vanessa,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner. Yes. Young.
Yes.
Okay, item number 16, resolution 2026-14. This is a resolution authorizing, directing the transfer of certain sums from the general fund to the safety fund. This, again, is for the fire engine. So now that you've appropriated the amount in the previous in the previous ordinance, we need to resolve to move it. We have a motion.
Suspend them? I moved to.
That was that was a snarky yes.
Everybody's snarky. Yeah, I don't even, doesn't even faze me. anymore.
I shouldn't have said that. Strike that from the record.
Well, that bounces off in him too. So. All right, so I'll move to suspend the rules for resolution number 2026-14. Resolution authorizing direct transfer of certain funds from the general fund, safety fund to the funds, partial.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco.
Yes.
Vanessa,
Yes.
Perez.
Yep.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner. Yes. Young.
Yes.
And I would move that we approve resolution number 2026-14.
Second.
Thank you, Sandra.
So-
Any discussion?
Question. So is this typically how, from an accounting standpoint, this has been done rather than coming out of the general fund, it goes into the safety fund? Or is this just parking this money in here for,
This is new for us, yeah.
Okay.
This was the mayor's preferred way to do it.
Okay.
so.
all right, thank
So we essentially do what we said we're going to do, which is put something aside every,
Right, yes.
last year's surplus and then something every month.
Okay, makes sense. Thanks.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Vanessa,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner. Yes. Young.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Resolution 2026-15, resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Better Meadows and Woodlands and Cleveland Metro Parks for services regarding the village's ongoing invasive species control programs and declaring an emergency. So this is essentially a continuation. It's the second year of our 3-year project for removing invasives. We did work with Metro Parks last year and included them in this pilot program. They are extending the work that they're doing on their own property along Sherman Road. It's easier for them with their budgeting purposes if we make it a part of our project for Better Meadows and Woodlands to do some of the work on their property, for which then they will reimburse us. So when you look at the third paragraph, the work that we're going to be doing is $52,498. The work that will be reimbursed by the Cleveland Metro Parks is 34,807.20 for a total cost of 87,305.20. We're also adding 2 parcels to our project, expanding it. So there'll be 2 new parcels. Let's see, where on this page over here.
That,
Is this track
It's-
one and track two?
Just so we're clear, because Janet just had the same question to make sure we were clear.
Yeah.
We, the village, will sign for the whole 87,305.
Yes.
We will be reimbursed for the Metro Parks properties that will be done, which is 34,807. So our net cost to the village-owned properties is the 52,498.
Yeah, which is, I think what I said. Yep. Okay, good. And we're adding two parcels. One is, what was known as Founder's Field, kind of going up the hill towards, property where the old mill. And the second property, that would be the one on Old Mill. And, I'm sorry,
Founders Park.
yeah,
Right.
that,
Founders-
the old mill, is that? what
yeah,
the
that's where
parcel is?
Founder's
Okay.
Field,
All right.
Field is. And, I'm forgetting where the other one is right now, but, so this amount, 52,498 would be the contract with Better Meadows and to cover all.
Actually, the law director had asked that we put together a 3-party agreement. So that would be with Better Meadows and with Metro Parks as well.
Okay. Good. Any questions other than the other parts?
So at the last meeting, we talked about the total for the tree canopy project being about $130,000. It looks like this is number 2 in that, the initiate invasive control on additional village-owned and land conservancy-owned parcels for $50,000 per year for 10 years. So this is that.
Well, when we started originally, it was at like 180,000 over 3 years. And so this is like a phase of that plus the additional 2.
Yes, this is like our $50,000 a year. And then there's additional funds that we expect that we'll use throughout the rest of the
Right.
year beyond.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what goes into I was just curious, like there's the retreat and the new acreage, but like what goes into the cost? Because I was looking, I was like, some of the acreage is really high and it seems less expensive than other acreage. So
Yeah, well, Better Meadows and Woodlands and any of the vendors that have responded to our proposal use different techniques depending on what's needed on that property. And some of it is, using mechanical equipment to dig out, and others kind of using foliar spray. And sometimes they have to come back a second time depending on the density of the property. So each one is a little different, and different kind of invasives require different.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Second.
Thank you. Do you have a motion?
I'll make a
Oh,
motion.
and
Oh, I thought
Andrew
what
had-
you said
No.
was doing was making.
let me
a-
declare suspend the rules. I'll move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Thank you, Craig. Roll call.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
Monesco,
Yes.
Perez, Steinbring,
Yes.
Turner,
Yes,
Young.
Yes.
and move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco.
Yes.
Monesco,
Yes.
Perez,
Yes.
Steinbring.
Yes.
Turner,
Yes.
Young.
Yes.
Thank you. I think this is a good example of how, when we do something, you can get the neighbor to do his share too. This is a good way to get more property within the village treated with
Yeah, and
with
essentially,
the Metro Parks joining up.
yeah, essentially they saw what was done, and even though it's not finished, they were quite impressed and are willing to expand their property here and maybe other places too that are not contiguous with the village.
Okay. I think that completes the agenda. Item number 19, council discussions, other topics that you wish to bring up?
Just one for me, real quick. Todd was going to bring, I asked Todd last time after the meeting because of, well, we had all these emergencies this time. And it just has negative connotations to it. So he had other verbiage, I think it was from Beechwood, and I racked my brain out trying to figure out what it was. But he was going to bring back, I was hoping that he would have like something that was 2 paragraphs that allowed us to use a different word. And a perfect example is moving funds. Either we move funds or we don't pay bills. You can not declare an emergency, but he had a word for it that was better
Okay,
that we could.
We'll ask Lisa to work with them and find out what that.
Perfect.
Thank you, Lisa. No further business. I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Thank you. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Karen. Roll call.
Broom,
Yes.
Greco,
Yes.
UNESCO,
Yes.
Perez.
Yes.
Steinbrink,
Yes.
Turner, Young.
Yes.
Thank you all for your attendance this evening.
Yeah, a low word.
Yeah.
That's so.
Oh, you're welcome.
We are.